Imagine being cyberbullied so relentlessly that the hate you have received becomes a focal point for other people to create more content. We'll get into it after I hit this music. Joining me for the second time is writer, performer, author, and anti-bullying advocate, Star Stone. Star, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, so after your recording, I went down this huge rabbit hole of Aaron the Vegan. It's basically, if you type in Aaron the Vegan, it wasn't just that one video of that TV show you're on. So if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, a couple months ago, Aaron was on our podcast, and the title of that episode was called Cyberbullying, the Price of Viral Internet Fame. So I suggest go watch or listen to that episode first, and then come back to this one so this all makes sense. But catching back up now, I found this huge rabbit hole. I mean, you have popular influencers, other media companies, all jumping on your pain. And before we get into it, I just have one quick question. When you signed up to be on that game show on YouTube, did they tell you you were going to be playing a character?
No, I think that's where my own learning and growth comes in. When you sign on to a project, get the information, right? Like connect with the producers, connect with the director. I want to know what a vision is, what the creative team's vision is before I sign on to a project. And in that time, in that moment, I didn't do that, right? I just sort of went in completely open, available, not using my discernment and not asking those types of questions. So I had no idea. And that's part of my own, now I know. Unfortunately, it took this to get me to know that, but
Just a quick little recap on that episode. That episode final product took it was like a 10 to 12 minute show. How long did it take to actually record that whole show?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great question. I honestly don't remember. It was 6 years ago. So for me, my memory, but I think it was an hour or
Okay.
more, maybe not, because they did time us when we were filming. So we had a timer in front of us on the sound stage. So I don't know that it took an hour to film. In my memory, that's how long it felt. But I do know that they timed us out in increments. So while it was over, obviously it was over 10 to 12 minutes for sure. But in terms of how long, yeah, I don't remember.
Okay. So obviously there was some editing, and
Mhm.
it boiled down to make it look like you, the villain, which I guess if you signed up to play a character on a show, hey, Star, you're going to be a villain. Okay, that's cool. But that apparently wasn't the case. So how did you feel when you saw other people kind of jump on board with the attacks?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we're talking about these, people with large platforms, I think that people have a responsibility when you do have a large platform, right? Like if you're an influencer and you have millions of people that are subscribed to your channel, you do have, like, the word influencer is an influencer for a reason, because you do have influence over, let's say, 2 million people, if that's how many are subscribed to your channel. And people are listening to you regularly, and they're listening to you maybe for advice, or they resonate with you. So if you use your channel to amplify violence or to cause harm or perpetuate harm or create a conversation that incites violence in the comments, that has everything to do with that person, right? Like that person has a responsibility. It's on that person. I don't take that personal, because it's on that person. If that's what they're about, and that's the type of content that they're putting out, that says everything about them, and it actually has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
It's really not personal, because they will use their platform for whatever hot topic, whatever. But I think that the bottom line with a lot of these people is that they're using their platform to incite violence, because even if they don't specifically say, oh, go after her, or go watch this video, what they're doing is they're drawing attention to it in a negative way, which is then going to create that mob mentality in the comments. People are going to genuinely want to engage with whatever content that they're putting out. So if it is like, wow, look at how this person behaved, I condone this behavior, if that's what the influencer is saying, well, then if you have a group of people that are on board with you and your views, they're going to then go after. So they're creating, again, this sort of mob mentality in the comments. People are going to go and have dialogue around whatever content you put out. So if you're putting out content that is, in some way creating a need to go after someone, that's what people are gonna do.
Yeah, and that's a really good example um, of having more. I see. So bullying, there's three things that makes bullying, and one of them is having more power. Influencers have more power over you based off they built trusted relationships, they built trust with their viewers. Whatever that person says, they're going to believe. I experienced a mild taste of that. Nothing compared to what you've experienced. Mine was just local. Didn't go beyond local, thank goodness. But mine was, school board members and then local nonprofits saying that if I was elected to school board, kids will commit suicide. It's like, who says that? I mean, yeah, that's hurtful and dull, but it stayed confined to my community. At my time, it was horrible. It's like, why do people say that? But that's the imbalance of power that influencers, people
Mhm.
with a large social status have, is that you need to be careful how you use that power, because even though you meant to be as a joke, or for myself, I was told, well, it's all part of the political game, don't take it seriously. That's easy for you to say, but it's not easy to live with because not everybody saw it that way. What's, I guess, with Jubilee, they're the one that started it, and now they made some follow-up videos. Did you ever see the follow-up videos to your episode and what they've said?
I included one of the follow-up episodes or video content in my show towards the end of my show, Villain Era, my one-woman show, which talks about my experience with cyberbullying. And well, it shares my entire story. At the end of that show is when I include that clip. However, I don't think I've spent much time. I try to distance myself from a lot of that content, but my director found a clip that we did use towards the end of our show.
So after the main Jubilee video came out,
Yeah.
they made extra content, like really going after you personally. How did that make you feel?
Yeah, so I tried to distance myself from just about anything that was on YouTube and anything related to the video, right? To protect myself, protect my peace, protect my energy, my mental health, deleted my social media accounts. So it really wasn't until I created my show Villain Era with my director that we had to create the show, find out what had been happening over the course of 5 years and see the videos. So at the end, towards the end of Villain Era, my director found a video where they do it is about me, right? That they created a video specifically about me, and we do use that in the show and we address it. My show's a comedy, so we sort of create a scene around it. So it's not like we're just watching the video, but there's commentary. And yeah, I think that not watching the videos and not reading the comments is important because you don't want to consistently re-traumatize yourself if you're a victim of
Mhm.
cyberbullying. And the other piece of that is that you can't heal a wound if you keep touching it, right? There came a time when it's like you just absolutely have to sort of put that aside and move on with your life. So that's what I did.
How do you still, like, for me, I still see the comments, they didn't go away for myself, and it still ticks me off. And I'm learning just, it happened in the past. People forgot it, but it still bothers, it still hurts a little
Mhm.
bit. Um, like, what steps do you take when those thoughts pop in your head? Like, do you ever get antsy of like, oh, what are they saying about me now today? Like, do you ever get those thoughts? Or if not, what do you do to fix your mindset?
Yeah. I mean, I think if I'm being honest around the time frame, in the first 2 to 3 years after the video came out, really took up most of my capacity, emotional space. It was really, those thoughts came up all of the time. Me wondering what's out there, what are people saying? I could feel the energy, attention on me, right? So, of course, those thoughts came up. But it points to a larger picture, I think, around nervous systems and around how we manage when we're under extreme stress, and what tools can we have to bring ourselves back to neutral, to de-escalate the situation, to detach. And so I think it's important to not lean into those thoughts, right? Because like you'll just continue to escalate and you'll continue to feel that trigger point. But refocusing your energy on what's going on in your life. What do you have to do today? Even if it's just like the small things. So, yes, of course, initially, all of that was happening for me, but I had to recalibrate. And it really took a long time. I mean, it's taken like 5 years for me
Yeah.
to get to a place where that's not the focus of my life. And part of that, of course, is creating a show about it, and actually talking about it is helpful.
Yeah. Going back to like the other influencers, when you think about it, do you think that they know that you're not aware that this was a character that you were made out to be? Like, I'm guessing, I'm not trying to give them like an okay reason to do this, which is not okay. But do you think they don't really understand the harm they're doing? Because maybe to them, they're like, oh, it's a viral thing right now, so let's go make fun of it so we can capitalize on this topic right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they understand what they're doing, or do you think like these guys know what they're doing? They shouldn't have never done it.
That's a tough question. I mean, I
Yeah,
think that people want to talk about things that are relevant. And I was relevant for a long time on the internet in certain gamer circles and other circles. I mean, just on the internet. People always want to talk about what's relevant online on YouTube, and sometimes it's as simple as that. There's not a whole lot of responsibility or accountability. They're not necessarily thinking about what is the impact on this person, but more so they're thinking about, this would look or sound really good and this would fit into my content and in my viewership.
yeah. Because Jubilee made like that part two where they kind of capitalize. And I forgot that guy's name. I don't know his name. He was an intern at the time because it said intern for Jubilee. What was
Mm-hmm.
his name? Was it Josh? I don't know. But anyways, they made a second video where he poked fun at it and pretty much played this victim mentality,
Mm-hmm.
poking back at you. To me, I guess that would have been okay if they were upfront with you saying, hey, Aaron, your name is going to be called Stacy, and you're playing this evil vegan villain person.
Mm-hmm.
That would probably be okay. But the fact they didn't do that, they made a second video just to recapitalize on the popularity of their first video, which I believe is totally wrong. And I really wish it would come out with something saying, hey, we are sorry
Mm-hmm.
we made it look out this way because we did edit. I did see you on another podcast where you're talking about there are longer periods of times when you had said things and they just edit really quickly to make it sound like you're jumping on them. It's like, that
Yeah.
makes sense. That makes sense. You should at least be honest with people saying, we had intentionally made her to look like the victim. You're basically the
Yeah.
reason why their show went popular. They should be thanking you.
Right.
You should at least get some money for that, you would think. Like, here's some more, here's some more, what's it called? Not commissions, but I don't know what they call it in the entertainment industry. You hear it all the time, those little checks you get. You know what I'm talking about? You're an
Yeah. I
actor
mean,
on
I
the
think,
show. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, everything you're saying is accurate. Yes. Like, of course. And I mean, that in an ideal situation, they take accountability and they are gracious and yeah, they're aware of all of these things. But there was no like ownership or apologies or, none of that happened. Right. And like, of course, yes, the way that I was edited and the way that I was on the show definitely brought the show the views, right? Like that's where the comments are at. That's right. So it's everything you're saying is valid, but the thing is it's like when people are deceptive, which is what I think happened in terms of like a game show in general or a reality show. Um, when you have someone from your own staff participating, that's already ethically kind of like, hey, what that already raises some red flags because I
Mhm.
didn't know I thought that all of the cast members were cast, right? Like from a
Yeah.
casting call. But this, one of the cast members was pulled in from internally, right? So there's already
Yeah.
a little bit like, well, how are they going to spin it? And did that person have any involvement in the edit? Later on, there was a video regarding the edit, and they became an editor in the company. So you wonder,
Yeah.
did they?
That was the guy I was talking about too. Yeah. That's the video.
Yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's like their intention there was maybe never totally honest,
Yeah.
right? And the whole thing wasn't transparent.
Here's my thought on this whole thing now. After looking at it for a while, they robbed you of a potential career. If they would have set this up, been upfront with you, we're going to make you the villain. You okay with that? So what I'm talking about is like, look at WWE wrestlers. They have heels, they have good guys. The people who are heels are told you're going to be a heel. We need people to hate you. That's their job. Their job is to get people to hate them because they can
Mhm.
capitalize on that. Like right now, at the time of this recording, John Cena of WWE is a heel, which used to be a good guy for the longest time, but he's a heel. People hate him, but they still love John Cena. I feel like if they would have said, Aaron, this is going to be a character, we're going to make you out to be a villain, and maybe noted that somewheres or just gave you a different name, you could have content where you could just played a villain on things on the internet. Even though that's not you, but you could have had a character that you could have just played and actually use this to your advantage. But the, to me, that's my opinion. I don't know how you feel about that, but I feel like they kind of robbed you of an opportunity by leaving you out of the dark, pretty much saying this is who you are. You are a bad person. This is, I think, comments was like, this is why we don't like vegans. It's like, that would have been a good opportunity for you if you wanted to do that and you had the option to say yes or no. Because if you didn't want to be a villain, you could say no, I'm not going to do this. You know, but
Mhm.
I feel like you were robbed, and I don't know if you ever thought that way, but that's just my opinion. Looking
Mhm.
back, it's like because a lot of people were at that time were really interested in you.
Yes.
Yeah. So did you ever? I don't know. Did you ever think that way at all, or is that just me having these thoughts because I watch too much TV some days?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, my identity is the complete opposite and the way that I view myself. So there wouldn't have ever been a time in which I would have been excited or interested in playing a villain for any type of content unless it's like in the Harry Potter world or some sort of fantasy world where I'm an actor, right? It's like a Severus Snape or like a,
Yeah.
like or like a Draco Malfoy. I mean, obviously these are not like for
But
females, but
so at least you would have had a choice. You would have had a choice to be a villain or not. It'd nice to have that choice, and you could have said
right. I mean,
no.
yeah, but I mean, I'm a trained actor. I went to school for acting, and it's what I do now. And so, in terms of being a villain as a choice, like you're saying, and making it about acting, absolutely. I mean, that's fine. And but still, I still think that it's a fine line when it comes to reality TV, and
Mhm.
I still don't know if there are protocols and unions in place to protect reality TV contestants and social media content creators. It's just a question that I have. I've had it for many years to have protocols in place and protections for incidents like this one. Right. So the line is blurry between, is this a character? Is this an edit? Is this person? Did this person, choose to behave this way for views? Was this person being authentic? Those are the types of questions I think that most people ask class when they're watching a program like Love is Blind or something.
Yeah.
We're wondering the intentions, right? Like we're viewers looking at the show going, "Oh, is this person on Love is Blind to find love? Are they being authentic? Do they have a motive? Do they want to be an influencer? Do they want brand deals? Why are they portrayed as the villain? Is that a deal that they made with the producer?" So there's all kinds of like,
Mhm.
questions like that that we should be investigating and asking.
Yeah. Going back to trying to differentiate reality TV to non-reality, there was this TV show a long time ago called Lizard Lick Towing. It was on True TV, back when True TV just first became a network. I don't know how old you are, but I'm old enough to remember when True TV popping up on air. And there's always like a little quick message in front of the show. For the longest time, I thought this TV show was real stuff. Like they're really going out there to people repoing their vehicles, and this was really happening. But I didn't pay attention to the beginning. It was based off of stories of tow truck drivers or repo people. It was a story, but it was so quick. But it was there, but it was so quick. But until I saw it, it wrecked the show for me. I'm like, oh man, this is all fake. I don't want to watch this show anymore. But it wrecked it. But it's just an example how reality TV isn't really reality. That was totally scripted, made to look like reality TV. And I still feel Jubilee did you an injustice by not at least disclosing that somewhere that Aaron's a character in the show. Deep down reality, this is not who she is. She's an actor. You know, I feel like they could at least done one part and like a subtle statement at the bottom. This is not
Well, I mean,
real, something. But you're right. There should be some protections for actors or for anybody.
but also I think that the way that people view content is that it's not characters. Like there probably didn't the character would probably not be a word that people would even really use in reality and on social media because you are playing yourself, right? Like you are saying things and doing things. So the archetype of a villain or the archetype of the hero, like those are always going to be put in these reality type of shows
Mhm.
because we need conflict. We need a reason to watch this reality content. But in terms of using the word character, why someone wouldn't come out and say, "Oh, this is a character," because characters typically are things that we think of when we sign on and we're given a script. And I think that that's probably why it's that unscripted stuff. We don't really look at it. People think that the way that you're being is the way that you are because it's not scripted, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, your words aren't scripted, but the show is still scripted. I mean, it's all done with the editing. I mean, they obviously had to put someone in that place, and they
Right.
just picked you. I mean, it's the director, the producer, the editors. Yeah, they couldn't script what you're saying out of your mouth, but they can put the show together to make you sound this way. So, for instance, I did a podcast with a friend named Art. He texted me, "Wow, Tim, you made me sound so professional." I'm like, "Yeah, that's the power of editing. I can do that." You know, simple
Yeah.
things. You can make people sound really good with the power of editing and hide on the
Yes.
flaws or whatever you don't want people to see. It's easy to do.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean,
Totally agree. Totally. 100%. Yeah. And I think that, when we talk about the editing process, that's when I think there can be consent. That's when I think that there can be a dialogue, that needs to happen, the transparency around that. Which again can be sort of like an initial discussion with the producers and the director from anyone who's participating in a project, and being mindful of how you're going to be edited and how they see your, like, after they film, do they see an arc or do they see a story, and what that story is going to look like for you. um
yeah. So, yeah, I don't know if there's any good protections out there right now for people like in your position that went on a reality TV show that just got hated on because they think you are that way. I do know for politics, when I got a taste of it for school board, there is a part when you're running, you can't get people for defamation of character because you signed up to put yourself out there. People are going to assume whatever they want to assume, and you just got to deal with it.
mhm,
So that's on me. I didn't know that before I ran. That's my fault. Now I know next time.
mhm, mhm.
People with politics, people expect that. I mean, that seems like to be an expectation. There's going to be hate talk. For your case, it's nowhere even close to what I experienced. Your case is totally different. You went on as a person. Hey, I'm gonna play a game show. I'm gonna try to win some money. This is fun. Next day, oh my gosh, Aaron stinks. Aaron's bad. Oh, I mean, it was. I think even today, when I go back and look at comments today, I still feel like Jubilee. If they should at least they have plenty of time, they should at least say something. Hey, Aaron's a character, guys. Chill out. But
Well, I
what bums
think,
me out is
yeah.
they made a second video saying, "Oh, buckwheats. I eat buckwheat for breakfast." You know, they still use your pain for their gain, and that's totally unfair.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying is valid again, around like people taking responsibility for the content that they're putting out, right? Like you feeling like, hey, like they should be saying something, apologize, be transparent, come clean about what happened, right? Like for them to take accountability. I agree. I mean, I think that we should be stepping into a space where we see some accountability because the harm is real. The harm that they're generating by creating this type of content consistently and continually putting it out, it's just generating more harm. We as viewers and users of social media and these channels, we need to hold these people accountable. And I think that that's why it's like having conversations like this, talking about what's really going on, finding some solutions. Because people, if you put something out there, there needs to be some sort of acknowledgement over, okay, well, that has consequences. It has real world effect. These are real people you're talking about.
Speaking of solutions, have you ever thought about maybe starting to get that conversation going where there is a bill in place or for protections for people like you that go on these YouTube shows? Have you ever thought about maybe connecting with your local congressperson, lawyer to get that
Yes.
conversation started?
Absolutely. I think about it all of the time, actually. I would love to do something like that. I think I haven't found out all of the steps or done my research enough to be informed on how to do that. But yeah, I do. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know anybody right now at the top of my head, but if anyone's listening who knows, her
Yeah.
contact information will be in the description as well. But I think it would be really cool if there's a. I mean, obviously, you already found a positive to this a little bit. You did make a show where you can poke fun at it, but the damage is already done. Not everybody will be in that position as you are. I think it'd be really cool to see the end result. Like, hey, we got the Aaron bill, where there's protections if you sign up to, even though it's reality TV, they still have to disclose that's a character because you can't control the creative process of that show. There should be some kind of protections, and they shouldn't be able to they shouldn't be able to keep using your name in future videos to make money off it just to keep slandering you because that's just not right.
Right.
I think there'd be people to stand behind you on that. I just don't know them. And obviously, you don't know them either. We just got to put the net out there, say, hey, we have an idea for a bill. We don't think it's right
Yeah.
for people to get their personal lives ruined because of a reality TV show who has no
Yeah.
control over the creative process. So hopefully someone hears that and contacts you and picks it
Yeah.
up.
This is the first step, right? Is having the conversation and putting it out there and seeing what comes back. I mean, it's definitely something like in terms of it's Sexual Assault Awareness Month or Sexual Violence Awareness Month right now. This is what it starts with, right? Like having that conversation, survivors coming together and being like, actually, I think that, bills should be put in place to protect survivors in the court of law and things happen. Like even I'm thinking about Paris Hilton, right? With what happened
Yeah.
with her. She went ahead and, went to Congress and there, yeah, it's just realizing, okay, there's a problem that needs to get solved. Let's do this. Let's find
There you
out. Let's
go.
try.
Yeah, and that, another avenue you can always take if you're comfortable with it is just contact your local news station. You know,
Mm,
anti-bullying month, whatever. Just say, hey, I have this story. I want to reach it. I want to get it out there. Will you cover it for me? And you've got way more presence online than I do. So you're way more interesting than me. So I think you'd have some luck finding somebody to cover that. But um, yeah, I think there needs to be some kind of protections, and I hope we can get that.
mhm.
It'd be really cool to see an Aaron bill, the Aaron bill. That sounds good, or the Star bill. That sounds even better. The Star bill.
I mean,
Star
I
bill
think it
makes
would, I think something, yeah, that we'd have to come up with Yeah, there's some cool bill names we could think of for sure after all.
Yeah.
They,
Well, Aaron, do you have any final thoughts or words about your experience, about influencers? Like, what can they do to maybe not take the bait of something and keep causing other people harm? Do you have any ideas, thoughts?
yeah, I do. I mean, I think there just needs to be more dialogue around it. You know, is your content helping or harming? Like having a bigger platform nationally, globally, having more conversations like this, getting people together, getting influencers together, getting tech people together, getting social media people together. And it's like, how can you use a topic, something that's topical, something that's relevant, but not feed the beast, so to speak, but not keep feeding the storm, but
Yeah.
actually turn it on its head, change the narrative. So, hey, we see this is happening. We're noticing that this went viral. There's a dog pile in the comments. Why is that? Let's get curious. Let's have maybe a conversation around how can we mitigate this, or how can we create less harm? Can their content, it can still talk about the thing, but maybe it's helping instead of harming.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, not to make excuses, if they know that this is not a character, they portrayed her in a wrongful way, maybe some people would have backed off if there's more transparency of what was going on in that video. And
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't no transparency, and you didn't even know about it until it was
Yeah.
put out there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Star, if people want to get a hold of you, find you, follow you, where can they do that?
Yeah, they can find me at starstonespeaks.com and Instagram at starstonespeaks.
Perfect. Star, thank you again for coming back on today.
Thanks so much for having me again.